Alright, fellas. Alright, Craftsman 6.5 horsepower, 2500 psi, 2.7 gallon per minute. Right? I don't know. I'm looking to sell another pressure washer. Looking to clean up some stuff before, the season really hits, so it's still a little early. I like these pumps. This is a nice pump. It's actually similar to the one that I have on my other machines. It's a little bit bigger than the one that I have on the other machines. It's like a general type pump, which I like. They're very rebuildable. It could be seized. It could be garbage, right? It could have had dirt inside of it. You don't generally, do very well with pressure washers, but the price is right. And the motor kind of pulls over in the sense of that when you pull on the cord, you hear like a groveling grinding, and then it doesn't really want to go. I could barely get it to move. It could be, judging by the looks of it, and I already cleaned it off, so it was pretty. I'll see if I can get the little bit of footage on that too, so we could see what it looked like before I cleaned it. The magneto could be seized up, right? All full of rust and everything. Could also be seized up in here. She's been around for a while. I don't know what the date is on it. I have a little bit of info here. It's got some oil in it. Let's get started on it. Very difficult to move. So it's not thoroughly seized, but it could have gotten water. Although we talk about this a lot, about these engines where they get water in, but this one has a different type of, like the snow blowers I've done a number of videos on where they're just wide open to the weather. These have these baffling and different types of mufflers on them. So I could feel this hose here, the fuel line. It's hard as a rock. I mean, I had a rock. Cut that out of the way. This fuel valve here broke, right? Those switch style fuel valves broke. This is a little bit bent. It doesn't want to move, right? Jam solid. Been missing, I don't know where this went. Who knows how long that's been off. People don't take care of this stuff. Is expensive. Now, I can definitely say that there's some grinding going on here in ignition. So we're going to want to clean that and regap it and check it. But when I pull the plug out, we can see there's water right there. And that means that there's water in here. What we need to do is set it up and spin it up and flood it with my lubricants and see if we can get a compression out of it. All right, let's see if we can just eject the water out of it first. All right, it's probably going to make a mess. It's going to shoot right at me. All right, good. All right, step one done. Now, we're going to get some of our this is our transmission fluid mix. I got to make some more. And just kind of hose it in. Spin it slowly to sort of wake everything up. Hopefully it's not a lot of water. It doesn't seem like it is. There we go. Hear it moving up. All right, we can check for spark. We'll use this plug. I'll just blow it off. See if it sparks through this plug. It might not be a lot of water. It just could have been a little bit. I'll let you know. You might see it. It's a little bright in here, but I think it's off or on. Yeah, we got a little bit of a spark. And keep in mind that plug is shot. We're going to go over this next. What we want to do now is put a little bit more of the tranny mix in here and apply it in the plug hole. You don't need a tremendous amount. And we'll put the plug back in, just hand threaded, to push that transmission fluid mix around, and it'll try to blow it out through the exhaust. All right, that's good, because I need to save a little bit of battery left. I think that battery's starting to die. Now let's do a compression test. Yeah, you can smell it. It's got a tinge of rust. Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to see it, but I see a tinge of rust. See it? See it? See it coming through in there? Yeah, good. The valve is open. Let me get some tissues. Not terrible, but, you know, it got washed. There we go. Oh, you got about 75 psi. That's not a lot, but it's not terrible. I'm going to put some two-stroke, right? It's a little bit thinner. I like more as a solvent, but it still has a lubricant in it. Spin it around a little bit, just to slosh it. Slow. Then the plug goes back in again. Put a little bit more, because we're going to try to rinse it out. I'm trying to rinse out this combustion chamber a bit. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, it's trying to kick. It's actually passing a little bit of current through that. Yeah, it's trying to kick. I actually tried to run. It might actually run. You might actually see it run. It would probably smoke, and of course it'll be wide open throttle, which we don't want that, right? Because it'll be complete wide open throttle, so you don't really want to run it like this. Sounds fun, but you could damage the engine. Remember this, we don't really know the full physical state of this engine. Look at the way this is set up. That's old school with the pipe and everything. That's like old school. We may want to take this off, maybe not. I'm trying to get this out, right? I really can't get it out. I can't get this off, but I think I'll just clean it in place. We've got it like snuck up out of the way. There's some crap in there. Maybe throw a plug in there or something, or a plug. Let's pull this off next. This is all pretty filthy in here, so I am going to try to take it back out. I got this to move, right? This is our pressure adjuster. It's all mucky and yucky in there. I got this guy to move, right? This is like a valve for sucking in soap. That's nice. There is oil in it. You may not be able to see it. Somebody was gacking at this. I don't know what's going on there. The washer, there might be a washer that it's missing, and it might be leaking, but we won't know until later. There's oil in that, and there's some oil in the motor. So I think we're almost there. I think if we just get a little bit cleaner, right, we could probably get in with the pressure washer and the super clean a little bit more and get this motor a little bit more cleaned off. I can sand this and remove all the debris in here and get, because I can feel it. There's like a raised bump there. So I think she's lubing up. Let's take this off and take a peek in there. When we go to wash it, I'll just put it back with a couple of bolts, if it will come off. Sometimes we may have to take this whole bracket off, really, to get it off properly. So let me work on that. All right, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. I'm going to order another carburetor, but, and I'll tell you in a minute, I think we can grab a carburetor that I have on another one of these engines. It's a Nicky. This one's not. I like these better. But let's not fool with that, right? We just need this piece, because usually the aftermarket carburetors, you know, come with like a selection of possibilities, but not everyone. I peeked in here. Everything looks good. I see no water. Remember, we've been spinning it around, so no water, no rot. That's good. We'll come back to this, right? This seems a little too loose, so we're going to have to do valves. This wants to come up. However, this ring down here would need to move in order to do that. It's because as it comes up, it's hitting on the threads back here. I'm not going to play with it. We can't get this up any further. We're going to put a plug in it. We're going to clean everything up. We'll clean this up too on here on the machine. We'll clean this off, and then we'll take everything outside and plug the holes, and we'll douse it with a good solvent and some super clean. We'll get everything cleaned off for a final. Just kind of get in there, give it its last wash, dry it off, and bring it back in. We'll clean some of the peripherals. I already have the tank has been washed, and it's out here drying. So I always wash it super clean on these things. There was debris in it. The only way you got to get it clean, fellas. I mean, any dirt is going to just screw you up. And then I put gas in it. I slosh that around a little bit, and I blow that out, empty it out, and I'm going to leave it out in the sun to dry. And this guy we got to clean, which we'll get to that. That's pretty nasty. It's full of debris. Make sure that goes in the sun. I want to make sure that stays in the sun. All right, we'll be back in a bit. I'm going to set it for a wash. All right, the wind died down a little bit. And so we've chosen our weapons for today. Just a little bit of super clean, foamy, and the regular, my favorites. Sprayed a little bit on earlier, and I'm taking a break, and we'll be back in a bit. And I'm going to give it a couple of hits. We'll just get all the junk off, and then we'll clean everything up. And we're out here at a mid-February day, once again with the Tiander pressure washer, the Mr. Leance, or as I often call it, the Pressure Lance. Perfect for what we're doing today, fellas. She's all cleaned up, right? Blew a little color on it. And I also ran the hose in through here. And to just eject any sand or whatever that might have gotten in. I think tomorrow, though, I'd like to see if we could take this off because, you know, there's a shaft. It might be stuck. Maybe we can get it off. Maybe we can clean the shaft, and then we can put it back on if the pump is good. Also, if the pump isn't good, you know, we'll know then. And we can also put this motor together and run it without that pump on, so we can make sure everything is going good. I got this cleaned up. Right, put a little bit of fast dry Krylon on it. It's, you know, 4 of these machines, but I don't like that as much. We're going to try to order another carburetor for it. A new carburetor for this factory style is like $100. Okay, so we're going to see if I can get it from HIPAA. These I cleaned up, made them nice. That tank has been cleaned. It's drying. This got cleared. These got sprayed. If you want to know, guys, you can find information about the motor on these models. A lot of these models, it's on. You're not going to be able to see it, but it's on the valve cover. And some of these engines, it's on this tin over here. And sometimes you can get, on the newer models, you can get these tins off. But I got it loosened up, and I was able to get in there and get some paint and some acid and some cleaner, degreaser, right? This is all cleaned up. I usually just clean these ends here and the face. Same thing with the flywheel. That way we can get a good gap on it tomorrow. This side's nice and clean. And so this all dry. I'm going to stop for tonight. I already started lubricating this, so it's starting to move. We'll work that tomorrow. All right, so I'm getting ready to do this. So I'm going to use a little bit of lubricant on the screws, right, that hold this on. And I like to take my... You can't really see it, but I like to take my chain wax and spray it on all of that. Keep in mind that this is like wet environment. And then when I'm done, I'm going to spray the whole flywheel, right? Because it's already starting to rust a little bit. It just will. I'll spray the whole flywheel with my chain wax. I'm going to set this to 10 thousandths, fellas. And then once that's on, I can start putting the rest of this stuff back with a little bit of no-sees and everything. And then we can put the cover on, and then we can get to the carburetor and this guy. So even before we put the plug and the carburetor on, we're going to check this out. So we'll be back in a little bit and I'll show you. All right, just real quick. I turn the engine over, right, cycling the valves until I get to TDC. And TDC, right, you'll see the exhaust valve do its thing. Then you'll see an intake valve open. And then when the intake valve closes, right, you're coming up, the piston's coming up to compress and fire. And then the other way you know is here's the magnet over here. So typically, when the magnet comes up to about straddling, right, she starts to fire. And then you go a little bit past. And I can kind of feel it. It's right about here. Since I've been doing it so long, I can feel it. That piston's like sort of getting it's ready to come down. And then I measured it. So this one's about 5 thousandths. That's about okay. 7 thousandths might be a little bit better. This one is way larger. Like it should be about between 2 or 4 thousandths. 5 thousandths max. I stick a 5 thousandths feeler gauge in here and it's just swimming. So on this model, it's a little different. And what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this nut. This is your jam nut. And this is the rocker stud with the fulcrum on it. So we'll loosen that up a little bit. We'll turn this in until we get the measurement we need. And then we'll tighten this up and recheck. Now, a lot of times when you retighten the jam nut, it'll change the actual setting up in here. So you may have to kind of go a little bit further because there's play. Even though they're fine threads, there's a bit of play. And then when you tighten everything up, it changes. So over here, I think we'll leave it at about 5 thousandths. I'm just going to check to make sure that that's tight. And I can put the cap back on and we can move forward. Also, this is already done, so we're all good here. And I like to do this when this is off, right? When the cover is off, it makes it easier for me to see where the magnet is. I don't have to, kind of like I do this at the same time. So I could see when I'm turning it over. I could see what the valves are doing. I could see where the magnet is. I don't need to stick anything in the spark plug hole. And of course, take the spark plug out. It'll be a lot easier for you to turn the motor over. I can turn the engine over by hand, right? Get it right where I want it. So let me finish up. Oh, she's looking pretty good. All right, so here I put a bunch of lubricant on it. And, you know, earlier, right, I used, you know, penetrant lube. But now I've got some chain lube and some chain wax. They'll kind of wax up, right, dry up a little bit. And then I loosened that jam nut just a scotch. Remember, this would not move. So we're good there. I don't think I'm going to put the tank on yet. We got to find a carburetor. So there's one over there. There's an engine over there I think we're going to go grab. And it's got a Nicky carb, which I don't like. But we could use it to run it. All right, I got it off just in time, too. It's heavy. This is a big unit. This is a nice unit. So that's why I didn't want to run it. You know, you guys may know. Now, I've been lubricating this thing as I've been working on it. We're going to pull this off, right, this key. I'm going to clean that shaft if everything is working good. But I'm going to pull the key off before I start spinning it because, well, it could go flying off and I never find it. Everything else is on, right? We're not going to put the gas tank on yet. I'm going to go dig that carburetor out. Now, here's a carburetor, right? This, I don't know, I took this off of like a larger engine. We could use it. It is basically the same. I don't know. This is the one that is like more correct, right? It actually will work on here. You could actually finish the job and put it all together. And because I want to be able to run this, right? Because I have something I can test it on. So that's why I'm leaning towards this, because it might be a while before I get the carburetor. I have a project that I want to test it on, and it's one of my next projects, and I want to maybe kind of show you a little bit of that footage and give you a sneak peek as well, right? That's my thinking. So let me just pull this off. Okay, I got the switch in, I got the tank on, a couple other things. We're putting some oil in it. So this is kind of neat. There's no dipstick, but they're giving you a good pour point. So I just pour it in until it's a few threads below the top. And that's it. All right. It's nice oil. I'm actually using a Valvoline 1030 synthetic blend. Good time to wash the gook out of here, right? And then we can lubricate it. Put a little lube on that seal. Also put a little bit of no-seas in there, or grease. All right, cleaned off the shaft. It looks real good. I always like to run these keys on the file on all four sides, make sure there's no burrs. And then we'll lube everything up after I blow all this stuff out, and we'll mount it. And then a little bit after lunch, we'll go test it. So one of the first things I did was I sprayed a lot of lube into here, and I blew out, cleaned out a lot of the junk that was in here. This is a spring, there's a plunger in there, and this is a regulator valve. It's known as a blow-off valve, but it will control the amount of pressure. It didn't move initially, and I got all the gook out from in there. I'm going to run this on the wire wheel, but my concern is that some of that rust is in this chamber, and I don't like the fact that it could go in and damage the pump if it hasn't already. This is a nice little suction valve, and I blew this out and put some lubricant in it too. This didn't move. And I blew it out and it came out here. So this is actually a suction area for detergent. Because usually this is what jams up everything. And I think I showed you earlier, somebody's been into that, so I don't know what's going on there. Something might have happened. So maybe we just want to pressurize it and see what's going on before we get too involved. We just do these things. All right, it's on, lubricated. Okay, everything's been lubricated. I didn't put any air filter on because I'm not sure what I'm doing with this yet. I think it looks pretty good. So it should start. I think we got to turn the fuel line on. Everything should be good to go. So you see here, I've got another pump that I want to try out. And we want to see if we can use it. This is my backup machine, which I did a while ago. And you can see very similar pump, general pump, on a nice Honda motor, which I redid a while back. And there's on my channel, there's actually, I went over this whole, we painted this entire very nice handle arrangement. I like it. It's pretty nice. It comes apart easily. You just press these buttons here. So I actually restored it. It was a mess. Let's find out how this one works. If this one's working good, we'll bring it back in. We'll dump the oil, and then maybe this will become my primary for a little while. and then we'll work on trying to figure out what we want to sell, etc. All right, let's get to work. All right, so I came up with this because the hoses are different, right? They have different ends. This is an adapter, that's an adapter. This adapter I made, this quick disconnect is essentially a kind of an adapter. I removed it from here. I was able to get it off. And now what we're going to do now is we're going to put this guy on. All right, thread that on. Now I can hook up my hose. I'm going to tighten that up. The common scenario for especially some of these older machines and these general pumps is a flange with an O-ring style. Okay, now there are adapters to this, and I have one. All right, I'm kind of mutilating one that I have right now, and it gets it to male quick disconnect. What was on there was female disconnect, and they sell a lot of this stuff, and I've used up most of my inventory. Like now, this is the only good hose I have. This hose is getting a little bit beat, but you know, I think we're going to keep it around. I'd like to retire it because it's getting a little bit beat. So I usually start it up with the water off. I have that valve down there that I could turn. Makes it a lot easier. That's a standard thing. And then turn the pressure on. Now these fittings here, they're leaking because they're old and the O-rings get beat. The more fittings you have, fellas, the more leaks you're going to have, the quicker you're going to have leaks. So obviously this is for testing. This is not a good way to permanently set it up, but this is what we have to work with. We should be able to get everything started. Choke on. We're about mid-power. Fuel should be on. I shouldn't need to do anything else. Let's give it a shot. She didn't like that. Hold on. She didn't like me bringing up the pressure. Hold on. We'll do full choke. We got dirt in this line, which is to be expected. I gotta go clean out that nozzle. We'll turn the pressure off and I'll be back. And I would expect that. Might want to get just a rotating one. It's got bigger openings. And I'm gonna go with one with the biggest opening, but yeah, that'll happen and you'll get hydrolock. And that's because even though I've been purging it, so far so good. I don't have a lot of pressure on. I don't know, we have to crank this thing down to raise the pressure. We got to see what it's doing. I don't see any issues. I want to run it a little bit longer. We're not even really hot yet. She's able to handle whatever load there is. Yeah, she's leaking from like every orifice, you know, but it's working. And I'm leaking on the handle end too. It's getting me soaked. It seems to be working and I don't see any junk in the pump. So, and I'm able to restart it. You know, she's just starting to get warm. Just starting to get warm. I don't know how much fuel's in here, but it seems like it's okay. Yeah, we need a little bit more fuel. All right, let me get some more fuel in it, and I want to run it a little bit longer. I just want to see that pump seems to be okay. The motor seems to be okay. It's not as powerful as my other machine, but it seems to be doing good. I'm going to put a little bit more fuel in it and run it for a little bit longer. I'll be back. I got the pressure on this cranked up. Okay, so now we're going to give it a start and see what happens. In fact, you know, for me, the easier way is, hold on. But for a test, it worked good. The pressure went up, which means that you could see it too. I could feel it in the wand. So this is working. Everything seems to be working here. Well, I wish I could have, you know, run it longer, but I just don't trust it. But what we'll do is when we discombobulate all this stuff, and I'm going to bring in the other big machine, I'll show you in a minute, free its hose and its wand up, take an inventory tonight as I go, and we'll figure out, I'll go online and figure out what hose I need, what fittings and adapters I need, and then we can retest when I get that in. I'll see you guys in a bit. So I was in here yesterday and I started rearranging stuff. That one didn't sell, so I'm going to bring, it's put away for the year. I'm going to bring in another one. This guy's over here, okay? That's that big machine, and that's my generator. So I think we'll move this out, we'll move a few other things out of the way, get this guy out, bring it in the garage, and then I can bring my other bougie snowblower in, because nobody's bought them. I don't think anybody's going to buy them, so they'll have to be in cold storage. The nice Aaron's is back there, then I've got the snapper up there, and I've got this guy over here. This stuff is going to be coming out in another couple of few weeks, so, you know, I spent some time yesterday cleaning up, and I started arranging a few things, and so we'll get to it all. All right, that's what I'm going to do now. See you guys later. All right, in the next episode, I picked up the correct HIPAA carburetor. Supposedly, it looked like it's the right one, and I say supposedly because, well, I'm never really sure until you're done. Okay, until you're done, everything gets all lubed and stickers and clear coated, and you walk away and you're like, that's done. So I've got another carburetor. Thanks, good shout out to HIPAA. And they sent me what is supposed to be the correct one. It is aftermarket, but I think I mentioned somewhere in the video that a factory carb for this thing is $100. In the next episode, I'm going to show. I got it to a point where I got a new hose and I got some new fittings. I got a new hose for myself, but I change things around, and I'm going to show that in some other episodes, some different platforms and everything. Stop all the leaks and all that, and we'll talk a bit about that. So ironing that out of the way, and then brought it outside to actually do some real testing with it and wash the machines with a bunch of different machines that I'm setting up in here, which are subsequent episodes. And then I show on this rig the engine really running poorly. Like I stressed the engine out and put it through its paces. I had to put a little choke on. I think this is a HIPAA carburetor, but it's not the correct one. It's for the slightly newer engine that I took it off of. And it needs to be tuned. And so that's another issue in another episode. So I've got the new carburetor, and we're going to put it on with the correct air cleaner and everything, and put it all back, and we're going to test it and see what goes on. So I got to retest it. So in this next episode coming up, I want to show the testing I did, failing the carburetor, proving the pump, proving out some of the hardware that I picked up, and showing you how bad the engine the engine without putting some choke on and getting it to that right part, like to tweak manually, it won't run right. In fact, it'll actually stall and fail. So hopefully we'll be able to get it ironed out with this other carburetor, because it is a good machine. The pump put out plenty of pressure, and you'll see. The The engine I did get running good. So the core of the engine is good. We're good there. And so stay tuned for that episode, as well as the other episodes. We're going to try out the cat pump that I dug out that I've had for years. Oh my God! Whoa! That's insane! Got that going. It is just absolutely impressive as hell. Scary, scary, scary pressure. Just really sweet. And I want to iron out a few other things I've got going on with the pumps that I have in-house, along with the engines. We're going to try out the Honda engine again. We're going to play around a little bit with the platforms, try to optimize for myself and for a customer, and try to figure out what machines, you know, like how do I want to sell them? What do I want to sell? What do I want to keep? So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys on the next one of Arch's Garage.